Hey everybody, Cinema Sickness here with another weekly watch video for you where we take a look at the titles that I've recently been watching and I briefly discuss them. So like always, let's just get right down to it and take a look at what I've been checking out. So the first title I checked out here is something I was really interested in seeing. I was a little bit, I was really excited to watch this, but also pretty nervous too. And I'll explain to you why I was pretty nervous to check this out. And that was Great Lionel Layouts, Part 1 and 2. Yes, a train video. Now, the reason why I was nervous for checking this one out is because I was scared. This is 120 minutes long. It's a two-part documentary. And I was scared this was going to be nothing more than 2 hours worth of just video of model train layouts. You know, just a camera showing trains go by, and every now and then it changes an angle or something like that, and that's all it is. And that would be boring. That would just be something you put on in the background and never pay attention to. And that was my concern. I was like, I hope it is more than just images of train layouts. That would be so incredibly boring, and I don't want to see that. Luckily, this was great. This was so much more than that. This is about great train layouts, great Lionel train layouts, but what's really cool about that is the fact that they talk about them. There's a narrator who describes different things in the layouts, why things are done different ways. It tells you about the person's layout. Then they interview the actual guy who did the layout. They talk about him, why he did certain things. He talks about his layout. It's really, really cool from a collecting standpoint. Now, I'm not a train collector, but obviously I'm into collecting, and I love the idea of just collecting, whether it's cinema. I don't care if it's rocks. I don't care if it's trains. I don't care if it's Pez dispensers. I don't care what you collect. If you collect something, I think that is so damn cool. I'm always interested. If I go to somebody's house and they have a collection of something, no matter what it is, I want to see it. I want to hear about it. I want them to talk about it. I want to hear that passion in their voice. And you get that with this. You get a ton of people just constantly, you can tell how much they love their hobby, how much they love collecting trains, how much collecting trains absolutely means to them. And it's really cool to watch this. Really cool to see what went into them putting their layouts together, why they did things certain ways, why they collect what they do. It's absolutely great. And everybody's a little bit different too. There's this one guy on here who I'm not even sure why he's on here. He's really funny. He's like this stubborn old man, and he just sounds it the entire time. He's like saying things like, well, I built all my stuff by hand, which apparently he does. He sets up like his trains and whatnot, and then builds all his houses and stuff like that, and all his mountains and everything, builds them all by hand, paints them all, everything by hand, doesn't have model kits, does it all himself, and he's like, that's what it's all about. I don't even wire and light my display. He's like, oh, what's the point of that? Wiring your display doesn't show anything, and I'm like, that's kind of a dick thing to say, and then he goes, I don't even like to run my trains, I just like to make the houses. I'm like, why are you interviewing this guy? I mean, yeah, he's got a cool layout and stuff that he built mostly all himself, but he doesn't even like running his Lionel trains through it. He's not really much of a model railroad enthusiast. He doesn't even really play with his trains. He just likes to build buildings. He's more of a, I don't know, he's just a guy who likes to build little buildings more than he is a train guy. So anyway, kind of funny. He sounds very stubborn the whole time. Think this is how things are. This is how things should be. If you do it any other way, you're an idiot. That's the way the guy comes off. I was like, that guy's kind of a dick, but still very interesting. Really cool. I actually really, really enjoy this. I'm not some like guy who's obsessed with model trains or anything like that. I do think they're pretty cool. There are some really cool layouts in the area. Actually, there's a place called the Choo Choo Barn, which has a really kiddie kind of name, but it's not. It's this big, huge, awesome train layout. There's a place called Roadside America that's not too far away. It's another giant train layout. Very cool. Grew up with them. I definitely grew up with trains as I live near Stroudsburg, Pennsylvania. Grew up with trains. I do enjoy trains, though I'm not some I don't collect them or anything like that, but again, this was really cool to watch. If you're just a nerd and you want to hear about Lionel trains and see people's really cool layouts, this is something to check out. I actually really enjoyed this, and I can't wait to check it out again. This is very well done, and just, again, a lot more than just angles or train layouts, so very cool. And then when I got done that, I was really in the hankering to watch A Century of Lionel Legendary Trains. Now, this I have already seen. I have already reviewed this for you guys. But this is really cool. This is, there's 120 minutes, so another 2 parts, 2 hour long documentary, which is extremely well done. This is all about Lionel trains, a century of Lionel trains. This is basically like the history from, I guess, was it 1900? Is there an actual date on here? I'm guessing it started in 1900 and then all the way up to 2000, if I'm not mistaken. Doesn't seem to say on the back, but really, really cool that they go through the the entire history of Lionel from the very beginning, how they started out through like the war years, all the different trains they did. It's so cool. It talks about the catalog, talks about towards the well, not towards the end, Lionel's still around, but when things started getting like financially bad, all the different hands it went through and who owns it now. It's such a well done documentary. If you're just a nerd and you want to learn about the history of Lionel trains, this is something to check out. And one of the things I got to give this documentary credit for, I mean, this is a documentary put out by Lionel, and it's really, really cool that they mention other train companies, some that are still around, some that are not. But it's cool that during the documentary, they say, and at this period in time, this train, this model train company, that model train company, and that model train company were in competition and whatnot, and they were making these great, beautiful trains as well. And it's really cool to hear them talk about that. They even mentioned at one point about this like mistake Lionel made. Apparently, there's like this train gauge that like really took off, and they talk about the other company who did that train gauge and the track gauge, and then they end up like making a bunch of money, and Lionel kind of lost money by not going that way. They talk about things like that, so it's really cool that they even mention other companies. I think that's really awesome. There's parts in it where they talk about that the train collectors of this day are really passionate about what brands they collect, and they mention the names of the other brands, and they say that some collectors think these brands are the best, and some think Lionel's the best. And I just thought that was really cool. Usually when you see a documentary put out by a documentary on like a brand name put out by that brand name, usually it's just like, we're the best, we're number one, love us. No, not this documentary. This documentary just covers everything from A to Z and tells it as it is. Doesn't try to sugarcoat things. It doesn't try to push Lionel in your face, even though it is a Lionel documentary. So I thought that was really cool. It is very well done. I cannot recommend this documentary enough. It is really, really cool. If you like documentaries, if you like model trains, if you like Lionel, this is something you have to have in your collection. I'm just a nerd for this. This is the second time watching it, and I cannot wait to watch it 100 times more. Just really, really well done. Like I said, 2 hours, a 2-part documentary, and it's fantastic. So the next title I watched was Pretty Bird, which I guess you all know why I checked this movie out right there, Paul Giamatti. And this was all right. I wasn't blown away by this one. This one was just kind of mediocre. It's about this guy who has he seems to be this like idea guy. He always has these crazy ideas, and they always seem to fail, and he takes advantage of people. Not a very nice guy. He wants to make like a rocket belt, which is basically one of those like jet propelled like things you strap on your back and you fly around a little bit. Paul Giamatti's a rocket scientist basically, and he gets involved with it, and they end up finding out this guy's just a jerk and taking all their money. He screws over his best friend, played by Cricket right there for all you Always Sunny fans. So it's just one of those movies where it's just about this really just dickhead guy and how he screws over his friends, screws over Paul Giamatti, just screws over everybody. It's not necessarily a very happy ending, which is kind of bugging about this movie. Doesn't have much of an ending. I was kind of bummed by that. It just sort of ends, and you're like, oh, okay, well, all right. It almost seems like they just didn't really quite know where to end the movie, I felt. So would I recommend this one? If you're a big Paul Giamatti fan, sure. I grabbed this for $3 at Big Lots. It's not worth more than that. I'm glad I paid only $3 for it. It wasn't bad. I didn't hate the movie. It had some enjoyable parts. It had a couple funny moments. I just felt the movie kind of started to fall apart towards the end, where it just seemed like almost like they didn't really know, like the is the same writer and director? Yeah, writer and director Paul Schindler or Schneider. Sorry, not Schindler. Schneider, Schneider. So it just seems like he just kind of didn't know where to go at the end. Like he was just like, oh, I got this cool story, and then oh shit, now what do I do? We'll just end it. That's sort of how it felt. So definitely a bit of a downfall at the end. I wasn't too thrilled about that, but all in all, it was okay. I'm not going to recommend this one. I'm not going to say you need to see Pretty Bird, but if you're intrigued, if you're interested, if you come across this and you think, I kind of want to check this one out, you get it for a good price, sure. Otherwise, it's nothing you really need to see, but like I said, I'm a huge Paul Giamatti fan. He's my all-time favorite actor, so of course I have to own this. Have to probably end up watching it again. Just, I love Paul Giamatti. He was great. Paul Giamatti was great. Plays his his great kind of like down and out angry self. Love it. So all in all, just an okay film. Nothing spectacular, nothing you need to see. I would really say only if you're very just intrigued, really want to see it, fine. Otherwise, it's nothing you need to check out. Then I finally watched, this was awesome, Everybody Loves Raymond Season 1. Finished this up. Got through this actually rather quick. This is my first time ever really watching Everybody Loves Raymond. I've never even, before I watched this, I had never even seen a single episode of this. This is one of those shows where I've only ever seen bits and pieces of, and from what I saw, I remember thinking it looked pretty good, but I never got into this series. It just wasn't something I ever really watched. So I picked these up off my friend not too long ago. My best friend was getting rid of his entire collection. Told these to me for like dirt cheap. So had to pick up all the ones he had. I think he had seasons 1 through, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So got the first 6 seasons of Everybody Loves Raymond. And definitely looking forward to checking the rest out, because this was pretty good. This was enjoyable. I love it. I love Raymond in this. I love his father. Oh my god, his mother and father crack me up, and mainly for his father. Just the things he says to his wife, he definitely the best. And also played by Frankenstein's monster right there for you young Frankenstein fans, which I love. And I do know there is an episode, a Halloween episode at some point, where he dresses up as the Frankenstein monster. So I cannot wait for the episode. I know that's gonna come eventually, and I don't ruin it. Don't tell me what season. I want to be surprised, but I'm really looking forward to that eventually popping up. So I like it. I thought it's a pretty decent sitcom. Ray Romano is pretty funny in it. All the characters are very funny in it. Situations are pretty funny. So it's not my favorite sitcom. I wouldn't say it's the best sitcom I've ever seen, but it is definitely enjoyable. I am getting into it. Like I said, I breezed right through season 1. I've already started season 2. And I'm looking forward to finishing that up and getting through the next few seasons that I own. I still have a couple of seasons I need to buy yet. But definitely looking forward to getting through the rest I have. So all in all, a decent sitcom. If you like sitcoms, you haven't seen Everybody Loves Raymond, check it out. It's pretty good. So the next title I checked out was K2. And this was something I really wanted to watch ever since I picked this up. Because a little bit ago, I got on this kind of weird sort of mountain climbing kick. Not that I wanted to go mountain climbing, but I got really interested in like Everest and stuff like that. I was watching movies about Everest, documentaries on Everest, just movies on just mountain climbing in general. So when I picked this up, I definitely wanted to watch it, but just didn't get around to it for whatever reason. So finally decided to check this one out, and I really enjoyed it. Although this movie gets a lot of hate. Critics seem to really pan this one. It gets kind of bad reviews online. I don't really get it. I thought the movie was pretty decent. It's nothing amazing, nothing I would say you need to see immediately, but all in all, it was a decent watch. It's about these 2 guys who climb K2, which is like one of the most dangerous mountains in the world. It's the second highest mountain. It's Everest obviously being the tallest, but apparently it's like the most dangerous due to like the weird like steep climb and stuff like that. It's all right. Like I said, I don't get the hate. It's they go on this expedition. Things kind of go bad. Some people have to come back to the mountain. There's 4 guys left. 2 of them end up dying, and our 2 main characters are the ones left to climb the mountain. Of course, they make it up top. Everything seems great, but on the way back down, shit kind of hits the fan. One of them gets very badly hurt. You think they're all going to die, but, well, spoiler, they make it. But I don't get the hate. I don't really understand why critics didn't seem to like this one. I thought it was good. It had some intense moments. It was a decent watch, a decent story, and I would recommend it. If K2 is something you want to see, check it out. I thought it was pretty good. Again, I don't get the hate for this. It made no sense to me when I was reading up on online about this movie and people just ripping it apart, and it got like 1 star out of 5 and something like that. I was like, what? Why? Again, nothing amazing, but not a bad movie. So I would recommend K2. There's not much to say about it. Just some guys climbing a mountain. But like I said, very intense. A great, great like kind of like dramatic action sort of movie. So definitely something I would recommend checking out. It was enjoyable. I liked it. I can see myself watching it again. So K2, if you want to see it, definitely check it out. The next title I checked out was The Quiet Man. Now, before I get into this actual movie, let me say that this year is the Collector's Edition DVD put out by Artisan Home Entertainment. And this is some of the worst picture quality I've ever seen. I was so disappointed. I've seen, some of those titles that come in those big Mill Creek, 100 packs. I've seen better picture quality on those movies than I saw on this. It was that bad. I could not believe how bad the picture quality was on this. It blew me away. I was in shock. It was that bad. I actually own the Laserdisc copy of this, and had I not been watching this upstairs on my television in the bedroom, if I hadn't been watching it down here, I would have gladly taken this DVD out of the Blu-ray player and popped my Laserdisc in, because I can only imagine my Laserdisc probably has better picture quality than this DVD, and that is just sad. I do know there is a Blu-ray release of this, and from what I've seen from the screenshots, it looks like it has much better picture quality, so I will be on the hunt for that now. But all I can say is if you want to see this movie, try to get the Blu-ray release. Skip this DVD release, because it's horrible. But on to the movie. Not my favorite John Wayne movie I've ever seen, but not the worst either. I thought it was just okay. It didn't blow me away. Much better John Wayne movies out there, but all in all, a decent watch. Very interesting, the relationship between John Wayne and Maureen O'Hare. One of the most dysfunctional marriages I've ever seen. They're happy, they're fighting, they're happy, they're fighting, they're happy, they're fighting. And it's just over like the weirdest, most spazzy shit too. And the way John Wayne like treats her, kind of like hitting her and grabbing her and throwing her around and shit. It's like, what the hell? Just weird. And then after he does that, she's all like, and I love you now. It's just so weird, this relationship. But all in all, I mean, like I said, decent story. John Wayne, he was a boxer in the States who accidentally killed a man in the ring. Ends up, I guess, wanting to leave America to kind of get rid of that. Comes back to his ancestral home in Ireland, wants to buy his house, ends up buying it. The neighbor, who's just this complete dickhead, he wanted to buy the land. He's pissed off that John Wayne now has the land. Well, of course, John Wayne ends up falling in love with his neighbor's daughter, which, of course, is not so good. But things kind of work out. The town kind of gets behind John Wayne and his love for Maureen O'Hare, and things sort of work out in the end. But still one of the weirdest relationships I've ever seen. So all in all, the story was just, I thought, okay. It didn't blow me away. Do I really have any interest in watching this again? Not so much. Maybe like years down the line I will. But at the moment, there's much better John Wayne movies that I would like to watch more than this one. So all in all, I would say it was okay. It is something you can watch on St. Patrick's Day, so that's always awesome. If you're a John Wayne fan, check it out. But otherwise, it's nothing you need to see. But if you are interested in checking out, I would say see it. It wasn't bad. It was an interesting story, but again, not my favorite John Wayne movie that I've ever seen. Alright, so the last 4 titles I checked out here, I actually kind of did these a little bit in different order. These I actually watched a little bit earlier in the week, but I wanted to save these 4 for last, because I really wanted to talk about these. This here's a series that I've been wanting to see for a very, very long time, and I finally picked all 4 movies up. So once I did that, knew I had to sit down and watch these immediately, and that was the Attack of the Killer Tomatoes series. Very excited to finally check these out. So obviously I started off with Attack of the Killer Tomatoes. Super cheesy, super fun, a great horror action comedy. I love this one. It was great. It's one of the, if not the, they do try to say it's the in the documentary. It's the original spoof movie. They say that afterwards the movie Airplane came out, and they describe Airplane as Attack of the Killer Tomatoes with a budget. So they're constantly saying that Airplane like ripped them off, and rightfully so. This is a spoof movie, one of the originals, if not the original spoof movie. Really well done, very cheesy, very funny, very enjoyable. Get a great horror comedy. I'm sure most of you have seen this movie, but if you haven't, it's definitely worth checking out. A lot of fun. It's all about these killer tomatoes who, it's actually kind of an environmental story in a way, as these killer tomatoes all are like frankenfoods. They're all like chemically engineered foods that come to life and start attacking humans or killing humans. So very cool. One cool scene in it, my favorite scene, probably the helicopter scene. For those of you who've seen this movie or know anything about this movie, you know what I'm talking about. There's this scene where a helicopter crashes, and it's right at the very beginning of the movie. And as soon as it happens, I had to pause the movie and look it up online, because I was like, that looked real. That looked like a real helicopter crash. That didn't look like something fake or something that they planned on doing. And sure enough, it was a real crash. This helicopter was supposed to come down to land. They messed up a little bit. The tail rotor hit the ground. The helicopter starts spinning wildly out of control. It crashes. And luckily, everybody was okay. Nobody got hurt. Nobody died or anything like that. But the crazy thing is one of the main characters of the film was in the helicopter when that happened, and could have died. Could have died on the first shot he was in of the film. Could have died right then and there. Luckily, he did not. And what I love about this like low-budget film shooting is they used it. They went, well, hey, everybody was okay. Nobody died. Let's use the scene. And after it happened, they immediately, at that, right there, as soon as it happened, right there wrote some dialogue to fit that scene into the movie. They talk about kamikaze flying tomatoes, knocking the helicopter down. I thought that was so cool. So they used the shot. They had the shot. They used it. And rightfully so, because apparently it cost them way more to replace that helicopter. Apparently the budget they had for this, like 90% of the budget they had for this movie was spent on replacing that helicopter. So rightfully so, they used that scene. So very cool movie. I definitely recommend it. It was a lot of fun. If you just like great, cheesy horror comedies, this is something you gotta see. And this collector's edition is really cool too. It comes with a whole bunch of great special features, all kinds of like documentaries and behind the scenes stuff. Comes with the original 8mm Attack of the Killer Tomatoes, which is really cool. I'd recommend checking that out. They did, originally shoot like a 8mm short, and then they did the actual film. They also do they accept traveler's checks in Babusaland, which is another 8mm film that was shot before Attack of the Killer Tomatoes, which inspired Attack of the Killer Tomatoes. So also really cool. Definitely see that. This might be out of print now, if I'm not mistaken, this collector's set, but if you can get a hold of this, pick it up. It's really cool. Tons of great special features, and this is a great movie. So I'd recommend checking this movie out however you can. It's great. And then, of course, I had to check out Return of the Killer Tomatoes. I have it in this 4 horror comedy classics set. By far, in my opinion, the best out of all 4 movies. I love Attack of the Killer Tomatoes. It was great. But you take this movie and then add some great 80s cheese to it, you get the sequel. And I love cheeseball 80s movies, especially 80s horror and horror comedy. I absolutely love, and this was great. Stars George Clooney, so one of George Clooney's original roles. Also stars John Astin, which is really cool. Gomez Addams from Addams Family. He plays Professor Gangrene, who ends up coming back in the next 2 movies, which is really cool. So just so much fun. Very funny moments. Part of the funniest moments I'd say in this movie was when they were talking about all the product placement. They stop the movie and then they talk about having to do product placement, and then they keep the joke going through the rest of the movie. Love that. Very well done. They could have really handed up there, but I thought they did a pretty good job. It was goofy, but they did it in a great way. So I love the hell of this movie. I'd say out of all 4 movies, definitely the best. If you watch this one, see the sequel. You won't regret it. It's even better. So I love the hell of it. George Clooney was great in it. Definitely something you gotta check out. Now, as far as the last 2 movies, which was Killer Tomatoes Strike Back and Killer Tomatoes Eat France, Killer Tomatoes Strike Back, I think, is the weakest out of all 4 movies. I wasn't blown away by it. Again, John Astin comes back playing Professor Gangrene, and he's going to take over the Earth with like subliminal messaging through TV. He has like a talk show, like a Donahue type talk show. It's just all right. Yeah, he throws in. It just felt weird. It didn't really feel like Attack of the Killer Tomatoes movie. I mean, it had Killer Tomatoes in it, but it just felt like this movie about some crazy scientists who want to take over the world with mind control, more so than it felt like a Killer Tomatoes movie. The tomatoes kind of felt almost forced in the movie. So, I wasn't blown away by it. I'd say it's pretty weak. I mean, if you're going to watch all 4 movies, check it out, but it's definitely the worst out of all 4 of them. It didn't blow me away. It just felt kind of rushed, which honestly, it really shouldn't even have been a movie, because at the end of Return of the Killer Tomatoes, at the very end, they mention See You in France. So from what I've read, Killer Tomatoes Eat France was supposed to be the next movie, but for some reason they did Strike Back, which I kind of wish they would have just skipped because it wasn't all that great. However, Killer Tomatoes Eat France, that was enjoyable. I'd say not as bad as Strike Back, but definitely not as good as the first 2. But all in all, it was pretty decent. Felt like a good 3rd movie, if you want to look at it that way, since it was supposed to be the original 3rd movie. Again, Professor Gangrene comes back and again trying to take over the world, but this time the Killer Tomatoes fit more. They're really evil this time. They're going after people. They're in France. They're trying to basically take over France. Igor, which is Professor Gangrene's assistant, he's going to become the king of France, and it's pretty enjoyable. I do enjoy it. It was very well done. What I really love about it is that Mark Price, he pretends to be Michael J. Fox in the movie, which is hilarious. I absolutely love that. If you've seen Family Ties, you know exactly why that's hilarious. Even a cool scene where He's in this basement. He crashes into a wall, and some stuff falls down, and the Family Ties board game and the Addams Family board game fall down. It's a really cool kind of wink and nod. I love that. So I thought it was a very enjoyable movie. I would definitely recommend the third one. Very good. Had some great, funny, cheesy moments in it. I just really love Mark Price. I just thought he was really just great in it. Just did a great job in the movie. So I'd recommend the third one, definitely. I'd recommend seeing all four. Yeah, you're not really going to like Strike Back too much, but hey, if you're going to watch the first two and the last one, just watch the third one as well. It is at least worth seeing, even if it was the weakest and not all that great out of all four movies. But all in all, definitely at least see the fourth one. So I'd recommend them all. They're all great watches in their own rights. Just like I said, the third one is definitely the weakest. So the Attack of the Killer Tomatoes series, if you haven't seen it, check it out. They're great. So there you go, guys. That's it. A lot of stuff watched. So I pretty much recommend everything. I mean, to some extent, the Lionel train stuff, they were both absolutely fantastic. If you're just a geek like me, and this kind of stuff just, you know, gives you a little nerdgasm, I guess they call it. See them. They're really well done. Like I said, Pretty Bird, it wasn't all that great. If you really want to see it, check it out, but get it for cheap. You can pick it up for $3 at Big Lots. That's all I really recommend paying for it, because the editing was pretty weak. Everybody Loves Raymond. I think it's a great series. Really actually enjoy this one. Can't wait to watch the next few seasons I have. K2 gets a lot of hate, but all in all, a great mountain climbing movie. Great, just action-filled drama. I really enjoyed that one. Quiet Man, like I said, not my favorite John Wayne movie, but not the worst I've ever seen. So if you're interested in seeing it, check it out, but nothing you need to see. And then finally, the last, all four Killer Tomato movies, see them. They're great. Like I said, kind of with the exception of Strikes Back, but still, great movies. Definitely check them out. So there you go, guys. That is it. That's everything I've recently been watching. So I'm going to shut up now because I've been talking for way too long. So anyway, that's it, guys. Thanks for watching. Like I always say, if you like this video, please give me a like. If you're not already subbed, please do. And if you're not already over at cinemasickness.com, head on over there, click on the shop tab, purchase yourself a Cinema Sickness sticker or a Cinema Sickness button. I'd really appreciate the support. So that's it, guys. Thanks for watching. I need a drink now. My throat is all dry. And I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.